Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. The small town of Maplewood was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, with subtle notes of familiarity woven into daily life. Nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, it exuded an image of serenity, but beneath the charming facade lurked shadows too dark to ignore. Residents exchanged pleasantries at the bakery, while children rode their bikes along tree-lined streets, blissfully unaware of the secrets harbored by their neighbors. It was in this seemingly idyllic atmosphere that 34-year-old Elise Harper lived her quiet life. An elementary school teacher known for her kindness, she embodied the town's spirit. On the surface, her life appeared picture-perfect. She had a supportive circle of friends, a small but cozy home, and a passion for nurturing young minds. Yet, as days turned into months, whispers of discontent rallied behind closed doors. On a fateful autumn evening in 2021, the leaves' far-spreading shade of crimson captivated the town. Elise had planned a gathering at her home, a small affair featuring homemade desserts and laughter. But as the clock struck 10, it was clear something had gone awry. One by one, attendees trickled out, exchanging concerned glances, and unsettled murmurs filled the air. By midnight, panic had settled like a cold fog. Elise was nowhere to be found. As the first light of dawn broke the age, the victim. Elise Harper had always been a beacon of light in Maplewood. Her laughter echoed in the halls of the elementary school, and her warmth radiated from her small, well-kept home on Maple Avenue. She had a talent for making children feel special, igniting the spark of curiosity in their innocent minds. To them, she was not just a teacher, but a mentor, a confidant, and at times a surrogate mother. As investigators combed through her life, they were met with a tapestry of memories woven together by the bonds she had created. Elise didn't just teach, she inspired. Her students adored her, often staying after school for extra help or storytelling session. Many evenings she could be found in her garden, surrounded by the vibrant blooms she had cultivated with care. Her neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, described her as an angel who tended to everyone's needs, but seldom shared her own worries. Yet, as the search for Elise continued, lurking beneath the surface was another layer of her existence. Friends described a mysterious shift in her demeanor in the months preceding her disappearance. Elise had begun to withdraw from social circles, declining offers of outings or coffee dates. Rumors of a possible heartbreak circulated among the town gossip, but few dared to pry deeper. On that fateful night, as the invitation cards still lingered on the dining table, Elise became a different kind of victim, ensnared by the specter of an unknown danger. Her absence left more than just a physical void. It exposed the cracks in the idyllic facade of Maplewood. The innocence of the town had been shattered, and with it, the unsettling truth began to reveal itself. There were whispers of conflict, jealousy, and perhaps deeper, darker secrets that had been meticulously tucked away. The crime scene. When the sun finally rose above the treetops, it cast a pale golden hue across Maplewood, illuminating the details of a town shrouded in turmoil. As police officers arrived on the scene at Elise Harper's home, the air was heavy with a sense of foreboding. an uncomfortable mix of anticipation and dread. The front door stood ajar, stark against the pristine white of the house, revealing a glimpse inside a scene frozen in time. Boots crunched on fallen leaves as officers stepped over the threshold, the familiar scent of cinnamon and vanilla wafting through the living room, remnants of Elise's planned gathering. A half-decorated table, adorned with dessert platters and half-empty wine glasses, stood stagnant in the chilling air, as if waiting for the laughter to return. The ambience that usually enveloped the room had soured into one of confusion and fear. The initial exploration of the premises revealed no immediate signs of struggle. Yet, the living room, filled with bright colors, stood in stark contrast to the stillness that gripped the home. A broken vase lay on the floor, shards glistening like tears. As detectives moved cautiously through the space, they noted personal items scattered carelessly. A book lay open on the couch, pages fluttering from an unseen breeze. In the crevices of her home, they began to uncover the pieces of Elise, as they do. The early investigation. In the wake of Elise Harper's disappearance, Maplewood became a hive of activity for law enforcement. The police department, led by Detective Rachel Ward, quickly established a command center just a block away from the scene. Tension hung in the air, blending with the smells of fresh coffee and the crisp autumn breeze, as volunteers joined the ranks of the officers to search for any clues that could lead them to Elise. Detective Ward, a seasoned investigator known for her meticulous approach, initiated interviews with everyone who knew Elise, friends, co-workers, and even casual acquaintances. She knew the answers would lie within the community's recollections, small fragments of information gleaned from the lives Elise had touched. In the interviews, the peaceful town began to unveil its complexities, layered with hidden rivalries and seemingly innocuous grudge. As Elise's friends gathered, a uniformed officer noted the stark contrast. In their expression, some appeared relieved to talk, while others struggled to conceal their distress. One close friend, Jenna, became visibly shaken as she recounted the last few texts they exchanged, revealing a cryptic note from Elise about feeling overwhelmed and needing time to herself. "The last time we spoke, she seemed distant," Jenna admitted, her voice trembling. "I just thought she was stressed. Never thought it would come to this." Detective Ward remained composed, asking probing questions about Elise's emotional state, recent events, or any possible conflicts. Each response painted a more intricate picture of the woman they sought, revealing friendships frayed by jealousy and subtle rifts. Had subtly festered over time. Simultaneously, search teams fanned out, combing the wooded areas for any trace of Elise. As afternoon sunlight filtered through the trees, volunteers called out her name, desperation echoing through the hollow spaces. Among the rustling leaves and distant calls of birds, an unspoken bond formed. Something unequivocal had shifted in the heart of Maplewood. They were not merely searching for a missing teacher. They were uncovering the undercurrents of lives, intertwined by love, betrayal. Each moment passed with watching eyes. A town once defined by its charm was being scrutinized, dissected for truths concealed beneath the latticework of community. Detective Ward was determined to uncover every layer, for she understood that every inquiry led them closer, not only to Elise, but perhaps to the heart of the darkness that had shadowed the town. The dead ends. Days turned into a week, and yet the people of Maplewood remained steadfast in their search for Elise Harper. With each passing day, hope hovered precariously on the horizon, dimming with an unsettling quiet that seemed to stretch endlessly. The community came together, organizing candlelight vigils, and distributing flyers, all while grappling with the relentless anxiety of uncertainty. But as the investigation deepened, so too did the dead ends. Detective Rachel Ward reviewed each lead, poring over witness statements, scrutinizing cell phone records, and canvassing for reliable surveillance footage from around town. Most people had either seen or heard nothing unusual, their recollections blending into a monochrome of mundane activities that did little to illuminate Elise's disappearance. The frustration started to mount within the precinct, darkening the atmosphere that had once brimmed with determination. A promising tip led them to a resident named Carl, who claimed to have seen a vehicle parked near Elise's home late that evening. His details, however, were sketchy at best. They could only describe it as a dark car. Detective Ward felt a threat of excitement at first, but found herself grappling with a vague account as hours turned to days and attempts to locate the vehicle yielded nada. In the meantime, forensic teams combed through the evidence recovered from Elise's home, but their results were scant. A few fingerprints that didn't match any known databases and traces of hair were all they found. No evidence of struggle, no indications of foul play. The more they analyzed it, the clearer it became. The investigation was becoming a web of frustrations. A path full of dead-end each one turning back on them like a cruel joke. As the weeks passed, murmurs of unrest began to surface in the town. The familiar comfort they once felt slipped away, replaced by an undercurrent of suspicion. The neighbors, who once shared smiles in passing, now exchanged glances filled with unease as rumors flourished in the artales of strange behaviors. Seething rivalries and the shadows cast by past relationships surfaced like unwelcome ghosts, making the town feel like an intricate puzzle with pieces missing. Detective Ward found herself torn between her professional instincts and the emotional weight of the community's anguish. While the investigations may be forging ahead, they were doing so blindfolded, trapped in a spiral of doubts, fears, and unanswered questions about Elise's fate. The search for truth was becoming a daunting pursuit, and the chilling reality loomed. They might never uncover what truly happened to the woman who had once been the heart of Maplewood. A break in the case. As momentum dwindled in the weeks following Elise Harper's disappearance, a flicker of hope emerged when Detective Rachel Ward received a call from an unlikely source. A local hiker, Aaron Mason, had discovered something during his routine trek through the nearby dense woods. Tired but insistent, he reported suspicious items he encountered, tucked away in a secluded area off the beaten path. Racing to the scene, Detective Ward and her team navigated the overgrown trails, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. As they reached the spot Aaron had described, they found a small clearing where the underbrush had been disturbed. The ground bore signs of having been recently dug up, and a sense of foreboding constricted around them. Ward knelt down, her heart racing as she uncovered what lay beneath the loose soil, a folded piece of fabric. As they cautiously excavated, more items came into view. Pieces of jewelry, a silver ring engraved with the initials E.H., and a necklace that belonged to Elise. The sight of these personal belongings ignited a spark of dread and determination within the detective. They were items people used daily, remnants of life suddenly thrust into the light, a stark departure from the absence of answers they had faced for weeks. Back at the precinct, forensic experts analyzed the contents found, confirming the jewelry belonged. The suspect. In the days following the discovery of Elise Harper's belongings in the woods, tension swirled through the heart of Maplewood, like autumn leaves caught in an impending storm. Detective Rachel Ward now found herself scraping the surface of an unsettling possibility. As her team delved deeper into Elise's last known interactions, they began tracing the intricate threads of relationships that bound the community together and that might also pull them apart. Among the names accumulating on her whiteboard was Mark Gentry, a former colleague of Elise's at the elementary school. Known for his intense and often competitive nature, Mark had never exactly been a favorite among the staff. Whispers of jealousy filtered through the school's corridors, with co-workers alleging that he had grown resentful of Elise's popularity and approachability. The initial investigation had glossed over him, but with the new evidence in hand, his name began to loom larger. Ward and her team reached out to him for questioning. He was cooperative, but exhibited an unusual eagerness to deflect. Mark claimed he had been at home on the evening of Elise's disappearance, though the timeline was vague and his alibi crumbled under clarification. The more he spoke, the more inconsistencies emerged, causing Ward's instincts to flare. "We had our differences, sure, but I would never hurt her," he insisted, a trace of defiance creeping into his voice. "Elise was my friend." Yet as he said those words, his body language betrayed him. Eyes darted away, and an involuntary twitch creased his brow. A deeper dive into Mark's past revealed a troubling pattern. His social media painted a portrait of someone fixated on Elise long after their work relationship had ended. Fumbling through old posts, Ward unearthed a series of unsettling messages marked with what could only be described as an obsession, some laced with jealousy that codified resentment into thinly veiled anger. Through interviews with other teachers, one note from a colleague echoed loudly in Ward's mind. He was always watching her. It was like he couldn't help himself. Those words now felt heavy with implication. They lingered as a haunting reminder of how close the danger had always been. As the investigation tightened its focus on Mark, security footage from the area around Elise's home was assessed. It revealed a dark car lingering longer than any other vehicle on the street, prior to her disappearance, matching the vague description provided by the neighbor car. Driving records led them back to Mark, who owned a dark sedan registered under his name. The intricate web of connections now appeared to converge on one suspect. Detective Ward understood that time was of the essence. As she delved into Mark's life and his possible links to Elise's fate, she couldn't shake off the unsettling realization that they had unearthed only the surface so far. With every layer peeled back, the specter of danger loomed closer to the truth, and the clock was ticking. Maplewood had never felt so far away from the safety it once represented. The trial. Months had passed since the harrowing days of searching for Elise Harper, yet the wounds within the community of Maplewood had only deepened. The air was thick with anxiety and anticipation as the trial of Mark Gentry began. A man once seen as a trusted colleague now thrust into the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. Inside the packed courtroom, the somber atmosphere enveloped a tense crowd mix of community members, family, and journalists hoping to glean information from the unfolding drama. Detective Rachel Ward, who had pursued the case relentlessly, arrived at the courthouse with a weight in her chest. She joined the rows of observers, her eyes fixed on Mark as he sat at the defendant's table, flanked by his attorney. They maintained a facade of confidence, yet a tightness worked its way through his features. Ward knew that in the coming days, the intricate details of Elise's life and, ultimately, her tragic end would be drawn into the light. The prosecution presented a compelling case, revealing the carefully collected evidence that outlined the harrowing timeline of events from the discovery of Elise's belongings in the woods to the corroborated pursuits of Mark's obsession. Each witness took the stand with growing intensity, recounting their interactions with Elise and their perceptions of Mark, exposing his simmering jealousy and possessive tendencies. In one heart-wrenching moment, Jenna, Elise's closest friend, described the morning she first realized Elise was missing. Her voice quivered as she recounted the last text sent, her eyes glistening with tears. I knew something was wrong. She would never leave without saying goodbye, she said, punctuating her words with despair. The courtroom had grown silent, palpable with sorrow. Mark's defense team attempted to dismantle the prosecution's case, presenting character witnesses who spoke of Mark's good nature and willingness to help students. They highlighted gaps in the evidence, emphasizing the absence of a definitive motive and raising questions about the investigation itself. Yet, with each counter-argument, the specter of Elise's fate loomed larger. As the trial progressed, an unexpected twist emerged, new evidence that had not been disclosed pre-trial. A former girlfriend of Mark took the stand, her testimony dripping with unsettling allegations of controlling behavior. She recounted chilling incidents of intimidation and emotional manipulation, further painting Mark as a man whose mask of civility hid an unsettling darkness. Detective Ward watched intently as the jury absorbed the testimonies, their expressions revealing a mixture of disbelief and contemplation. Every day felt like an eternity, yet the tight-knit community craved justice for Elise's closure, yet to materialize in the bright shadows of their town's facade. As the days dragged on, Ward understood that the trial wasn't merely about determining Mark's guilt or innocence. It was about unraveling the deeper truths that Maplewood now had to face. The threads of hidden brutality and suppressed rivalries were being tugged at, revealing an intricate tapestry of emotional upheaval and undeniable loss. But even as the jury deliberated, the haunting reality remained. The true depth of Elise's absence would echo through the lives she touched forever. The outcome would be unfurling not just a verdict, but the very fabric that held the town together. The aftermath, as the final verdict echoed through the courtroom, an unsettling hush enveloped Maplewood. Mark Gentry was found guilty on multiple charges related to Elise Harper's disappearance and death, but the weight of the outcome bore heavy on the shoulders of the community. Gasps filled the chambers, mixing with sympathetic chrysol, a release of pent-up grief and frustration that had lingered for far too long. For many, it was a moment of bittersweet closure. Justice had been served, but at what cost? Detective Rachel Ward stood among the throngs of people. While relief flooded the courtroom, a void persisted in her heart tone that no verdict could fill. For her, the journey had never just been about apprehending a suspect. It was an arduous quest to honor Elise's memory and the life that had been so cruelly interrupted. Ward had fought valiantly, but she was acutely aware that the scars left on the fabric of Maplewood would take much longer to heal. In the weeks following the trial, the town weathered an emotional storm. Vigil gatherings were held in Elise's honor, where friends, family, and students painted the town with memories, sharing stories that celebrated her spirit. Flowers adorned her favorite spots: the school, the local park, and even the bakery where she had held small celebrations. But as the tributes poured in, so too did the flood of emotional turmoil. Grief collided with relief, creating a fevered sense of confusion among the residents. The discussions around the water cooler shifted, revealing simmering undercurrents of resentment and fear. Many began to question who truly knew their neighbors. Dark whispers surfaced about hidden conflicts, rivalries layered within the everyday lives of those they thought they understood. Elise's absence reframed their understanding of community, leaving behind a cocktail of fragility and distrust that hung heavily in the air. Detective Ward resumed her office, but the burden of the case lingered in her thoughts like an unshakable shadow. The haunting images of what could have been played continuously in her mind. She realized the real work was just beginning. Conversations with social workers and mental health professionals ensued, focusing on aiding families and children grappling with their collective trauma. Together, they sought to create workshops and safe spaces to process the tension and grief that had bubbled up, a commitment to rebuild the sense of security that had been so ruthlessly shattered. And as the leaves turned from vibrant hues of red and gold to the stark, quiet brown of winter, the memory of Elise Harper became entrenched in the town's history, a constant reminder that loss can alter the course of lives in ways that cannot be predicted. The legacy of her compassion and strength ignited a movement for awareness, inspiring the community to cherish the connections they formed. Though Maplewood would never return to its once pristine image, the resilience of its people began to emerge. In the depths of their sorrow, they found a renewed commitment to watch over one another and preserve the spirit of Elise. The heart of the town, while bruised, was preparing to heal, slowly stitching together the patchwork of their lives with newfound awareness and compassion. Mark Gentry had been held accountable, but the real restoration would require navigating the complexities of healing together. Reflection. As the seasons shifted and the first snow blanketed Maplewood, the town continued to grapple with the aftermath of Elise Harper's case. It had been a year since her absence first shook their lives, and now even the coldest of winters felt heavy with the weight of unresolved emotions. Detective Rachel Ward, while focused on her career, found her thoughts often wandering back to Elise's laughter, her warmth, and the countless little moments that had made her special. In quiet moments, she would drive through the once bustling streets, observing the changes around her. The town was slowly beginning to heal. People stopped to check in on each other. More children played together as parents kept watch. Yet, an undeniable unease lingered, an unspoken pact that they would be vigilant for one another, a reflection of Elise's spirit lingering in their actions. During a scheduled community meeting aimed at fostering support for those affected by trauma, the crowd gathered, and Ward found herself sharing what had transpired in the last year. Their collective expression soaking in both fear and hope reminded her how interconnected they had become amid tragedy. Stories of resilience began to pour forth as attendees honored their bonds in the face of profound loss. For Ward, the reckoning served as a powerful reminder that justice, while important, was just one step in a long journey of healing. The trial may have provided a verdict, but the real work remained in the hearts of the citizens of Maplewood. They were learning to embrace their scars, stitching together the patches of hope, compassion, and vigilance into a sturdy quilt of community. And in this shared resilience, amidst the collective grief, there was a reconnection to who they had once been as a town. reminding them that even in darkness, there is light to be found in standing together through their shared humanity. With the memory of Elise forever imprinted in their minds, they continued forward, not in forgetting, but in honoring her legacy of kindness, openness, and love.